This podcast is sponsored by Orchid Live. Find out more at orchidlive.com. Hello and welcome to the SOM podcast. I'm Steve Randall, and this episode is one of a monthly series to help you as an occupational health professional with your CPD, as we invite specialists to share an overview of some of the topics you've told us you'd like to find out more about.
So I'm Werner Stipp. I'm a consultant in occupational health full-time. My connection with the SOM is that I'm part of the Special Interest Group in sleep, which is very beneficial, very engaging. And I actually believe in sleep health to improve employee performance. And I think the occupational health professionals has a lot of leverage to improve worker well-being with sleep assessment and interview techniques.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the SOM podcast. And I think this will be kind of a dual interest, really, because there will be many OH professionals listening to this who perhaps are working fairly long hours. So sleep is perhaps an issue for them personally, but also for those that they work with. We know how important good sleep is. And there is a big difference, isn't there, between just getting sleep and having a certain number of hours and actually having good sleep.
I think, as you say, Steve, is a inverse relationship between stress, work hours, and sleep health, and it basically affects all your general health as well as safety as well in safety critical jobs. With REM sleep, it's almost like machine learning that your brain does. It solves problems, etc. To wake up fresh the next day. So, but I think a lot of employees are in a state of decompensation because of pressures of life, of travel, etc. So I think the OC health professional can step in and provide some ergonomic and circadian advice to them.
We'll talk about exactly what OH professionals can do and some practical steps they can do, but just to dig a little bit deeper into the importance of sleep and where we're kind of going wrong with it, because that deep sleep, that REM sleep that really helps to make sure that everything is optimized. I see this as almost a cycle where if somebody's stressed in their job or in their life generally, they then don't get good sleep. And then if they don't get good sleep, that just exacerbates the issues that they're having during their waking time.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I think I was involved in a government grant which we actually tested that, and where it's like a vicious cycle. If people are stressed, they sleep worse, and their performance and ability to deal with organize their day is less. So in terms of the deep sleep, I think there's one reference where it says the ganglion cells or the support cells of the neurons in your brain, it does like almost like a pump action to wash out all the stress because each day you get a lot of frustrations, etc. So you go through 5 cycles, which we call the ultradian cycles, each lasting about 90 minutes, the different stages of sleep, and then ending up in REM sleep, where the REM sleeps get longer and longer by the 5th cycle. So with each cycle, you wash out that stress hormone. So by the end of the night, all the stress hormones are washed out, except in brackets, except when you got PTSD, close brackets. But then that last REM sleep is almost like the machine learning of your emotions, how to deal with stress responses, and that's the time when you dream. Just reading a bit into it by OC health professionals, they can do it easily. I think just gives you that ability to improve well-being of people in employment, and it's one can say it affects your whole physiology, your metabolism, your genetics, everything. But if you manage it optimally, then I think you can spend that a good quality of working life with a balance of with family life as well. So
Yeah, and obviously there are, some people have insomnia or other sleep-related issues. But aside from that, on a more general level, some of the things that maybe we do, I mean, you mentioned sleep hygiene earlier, things like going to bed and getting up at a regular time. How important is that? And also, people will often say, oh, I didn't sleep well because I was doing this, that, or the other. And, I'll catch up later. And they think that they can then have a much longer sleep, for example, at the weekends, and that will put everything right from burning the candle at both ends during the week. I mean, are those bad practices?
I think that catching up on sleep over the weekend, that's a sign of decompensation. So it's actually like a mortgage. You can pay off a mortgage, but sleep debt you actually can't pay off. So if you lose cumulative sleep loss over the week, you actually can't pay it back over the weekend because it still affects your health badly. And in terms of sleep duration or regularity, I think that the Rue-Sutter questionnaire is usually if you're still in the green if you're within an hour of going to bed and waking up. For example, if your habit is going to bed 10 p.m., it's still right to go to bed 11 p.m. But if it goes to beyond that 2 hours, then it affects actually your growth hormone secretion and your melatonin secretion. So as we know, melatonin is a very strong antioxidant in vitro in vivo studies. So which reduces important in reducing cancer risk and inflammatory response. Inflammatory response has a knock on metabolic disease like heart disease, stroke, etc. So that's why a regular sleep pattern is very important, as well as sleep duration. T stands for timing, which is the midpoint of sleep. So one should actually always be asleep between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., which is the midpoint. If you clock up enough hours of sleep, let's say 8 hours, but you are awake in that midpoint of sleep, I think studies demonstrated it affects your performance. So actually, if you oversleep the weekend, you should ask the question, should you structure your life differently? Yeah, so it's actually like a long-term approach. I think in sleep hygiene, we say normally you need to do it, persist with it for 3 weeks at least, and then it will show effect. It won't have an immediate effect if you by week 1.
And how about obviously a lot of our listeners will work with people who do shift work. That can really mess with your sleep. I guess it's different whether you're doing a permanent night shift, for example, as to whether you're doing shifts that change from time to time. And obviously a lot of health professionals, particularly in hospital settings, do shifts. Getting that regularity of a sleep pattern can be quite challenging. What advice would you have for OH professionals who are working with those sort of clients?
Yes, we know that the employers are a lot of time not very tolerant in terms of their operation. Yeah, especially like we think of that with this shift pattern on the workers, and it's sometimes difficult to change operationally for the employers. There's a little benefit in advising people how to adjust on shift work with light exposure, but that's a very small segment, like offshore workers where they wait 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And if I let's say that they're older person over 50 and they know they're going to do nights, I think you can have a bit of adjustment with light. But we know 20% of the workforce do shift work, but there's no advice forward rotating shorter shifts, have enough time between shifts to rest. And I think mostly what we see in well adapted shift workers, when they get back home after a night shift, they don't immediately go to bed. They wait a while until they get very sleepy, and then they have a good period of quality sleep rather than coming back from work, sleep, wake up, and so we see that works well. So I think the train driver population, we see a lot of older drivers, and their tolerance to shift work is very good. Well, when we get other employees where they work days for a long time and suddenly it changes and they're required to do shift work, and then it's very difficult for them to adapt.
So if an OH professional is working with somebody, maybe they've already established that sleep is an issue for the person that they're working with, what are the sort of first practical steps that they can work with with that person to get them to have better sleep in terms of the hours that they sleep, maybe the mattress that they're sleeping on, and that regularity? How can they start to improve somebody's sleep patterns?
All right. Yeah. I think like in all OC health assessments, we first exclude the red flags or the treatable things like narcolepsy or obstructive sleep apnea, which has a huge, I think 8 million people in the UK suffering on it. There's a good reference in Royal College of Psychiatry where they look at where there's a link on sleep hygiene, and that's a good way to just start interacting with the patient and follow them up. We know it's not a once-off advice. You need to persist with it for a few weeks and see what is the response.
This podcast is sponsored by Orchid Live. Orchid Live is a specialist occupational health software used by a number of SOM members to run every aspect of their occupational health operations. They hold healthcare records for over 1 million UK workers and work with both in-house OH teams and OH providers. You can find out more at orchidlive.com.